What's up, Notjust developers? Welcome back to a new live stream. Today, I'm welcoming you from a new place from the beautiful Barcelona, and I prepared something special for you. Today, we're gonna build the e-scooter application in React Native using Mapbox. This week, a couple of days ago, I asked you what application you'd like me to see build, and all of you said that you'd love to see an integration of Mapbox with React Native. And I decided that an e-scooter application like Lime would be a very good example of how we can integrate Mapbox with React Native, display custom maps with custom styles, with custom markers, calculate directions, routes, and so on. So this is going to be a tutorial very much focused on the Mapbox integration in React Native. Initially, I don't plan to make it a full stack tutorial, but if there will be a lot of interest, maybe we're gonna do another episode where we're gonna add also the backend for it. Today, we're gonna work a lot with maps, and it's going to be a fun tutorial. Mapbox is a company, a library that allows you to create custom maps with a lot of flexibilities, and a lot of huge companies are leveraging Mapbox to build applications based on maps. And I understand why there might be a need for a tutorial for this, because working with Mapbox in React Native is not that straightforward, especially finding out about things like the documentation is in all over the place. So we just need to find like the pieces and put them together and build something that we want. So I prepare this one as an easy get started guide of Mapbox in React Native. Before we get started, I just want to mention that this June 18th, in a couple of days, we're gonna host a private workshop on Zoom where we're gonna talk about the React Native in 2024, the trends, everything you need to know, and at the end you're gonna have a clear roadmap to React Native mastery. If you haven't already, make sure to sign up and reserve your spots, because it's going to be private on Zoom. We're not gonna publish it later, and I just need to know like how many people will be in the Zoom so that everyone can have a place. Anyway, if you're ready, we can get started. Let me know, by the way, in the live chat, where are you watching it from? And let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, let me know if everything is fine, if you can see everything, because I don't have my usual setup. Like everything is new here, like my new microphone and so on. So I really hope that everything is gonna go smooth. But here is a quick demo of what we're gonna build today. Let me do it this way. Let me put it here. And here we have a map with some custom styles displayed in dark mode. It shows our location here. And then it also shows different scooters on the map. We can go ahead, zoom out, and the scooters, the markers, they're also going to be clustered. So as we zoom out, they will be clustered into one single point and display how many scooters are in that location. Then we can double click to zoom in, select one of them, and from here we're going to be able to press navigate, and we're gonna fetch and render the direction to that scooter. Then we can do the same to another one and another one. And the one that we decide to do, we're gonna go ahead and implement additional features so that when we get close to that scooter, we're gonna be able to unlock it and start a ride. That's going to be some basic geofencing for our application. So that is the plan. Let me know if you're excited about that, and then we can get started. I'm gonna put it here. Let me zoom it out a bit. And here I have our step-by-step guide with the resources that we need to do. And the first step is going to be to initialize a new application. Let's go ahead and open up a terminal. Maybe remind me later. Where is my terminal? Here it's supposed to be. Let's zoom it in so everyone can see. For this project, I want to introduce a new tool that we can use to initialize new Expo projects. Instead of writing npx create Expo app, we're gonna do npx create expo stack. We're also gonna select that latest, and this simple tool allows you to initialize starter projects for your application, for your Expo application, and automatically configure and set up some of the most common packages in it. It's really handy, it's very useful for getting started and for having a clean application right out of the box. So let's go ahead and try it out. Here we are greeted with the first question. It's going to take us through a couple of questions. The first one is the application name. Let's call it Lime App. Would you like to use TypeScript? Let's do yes, even though I'm not sure how much TypeScript we're going to be able to write. But anyway, some TypeScript is better than no TypeScript. Then we're going to use the npm that I have installed. What would you like to use for the navigation? Let's select Expo. What did I do there? Skipping navigation for now. No, actually, that was a mistake. So let me restart it. Lime app, TypeScript, yes, yes. I'm going to select export router. For the navigation, I'm going to go with stack navigator. And for the styles, I'm going to navigate down until I go to style sheet to have no additional libraries for the styling, because we're not going to have a lot of styles there. And for authentication, let's do none for now. Setup EAS, no, and no, and that's it. So in the end, like if you want to simplify this, you just have to run this simple create expo stack with these two parameters, expo router and style sheet, and then create expo stack will initialize and set up our new project. Let's wait for a bit. And while the application is initializing, usually I let you know about who we are and what we do here on YouTube. If you're new on our channel, hello, my name is Vadim. Welcome here. With notjust.dev, my mission is to help developers build impactful mobile applications. And if you're on that journey, make sure to hit the subscribe button, because we have a lot of project-based tutorials that will help you build the mobile applications with React Native, Expo, and a lot of other tools. Thank you very much. And let's see what's going on here. Still waiting for the installation. I'm going to go ahead and start opening some documentations. First of all, I'm going to open map. I'm going to search Mapbox. And here is mapbox.com. This is the mapping solution that we're going to use. Hey, Mr. Frank, thank you very much for the donation. This is such an awesome idea. Very excited learning more about Expo. Thank you very much, Mr. Frank, for the donation. Where have you been? I remember you on our channel years ago, like 2 years ago or something like that. And I'm pretty sure I remember you here. So yeah, a lot of applications like Strava are using it. All trails have been using this one to when going to hike. You can build this kind of things with Mapbox, navigation. However, navigation is not very compatible with React Native at the moment. I mean, there is no stable library that brings Mapbox to React Native for the navigation side. We're going to have some basic navigation where we're going to display a route, but not like a full navigation like this. And we're going to talk about this a bit later. So what's going on here? Location with search, with maps. Yeah, basically a lot of cool things are possible with Mapbox. They're not sponsoring this video. I just found through you guys, you recommended it to me, found out about them 2 days ago. And when it comes to pricing, they have a free tier with what? 100 monthly active users and 100K monthly requests for directions. So I think it's good for the free tier. Like, we're gonna be good for now. Go ahead and create an account. We're gonna need the account a bit later. And let's go ahead and search for Mapbox React Native. Most probably we're gonna be redirected to the Mapbox documentation. That simply redirects us to a community package that has ported Mapbox to React Native. Here is the package is called rn maps, rn mapbox / maps. Let's go ahead and give them a star. They deserve that. A lot of work has been done here, I imagine, because what I wanted to mention here is if you go to the Mapbox documentation, to the maps, you're gonna see that they have the GS library for the web, and for mobile they have only native iOS SDK and Android SDK. So what the React Native Mapbox is a simple is a package that unifies two of the iOS and Android SDK together and allows us to use them in React Native. And because Mapbox has a lot of feature, like I understand, like it's a lot of things to port. Anyway, they have a nice website documentation. Let me find it. Should be where? Check our installation instruction here. It's rn mapbox.github.io. And we can go ahead in the install because that's the first step that we're gonna have to do. Now let's check if our project has been initialized. Yes, it has been initialized. Let's go ahead and open it in Visual Studio Code. Lime app. I'm going to bring it closer to us. Okay, I also updated. Okay, hope this should look good. And let's go ahead and start this blank template. I'm gonna open the terminal and simply run npm start. This will start the development server. And because I already have one running in the background, maybe I can simply close the other one. Probably is going to be easier. And here, if I do npm start again, it should start without any problem. The easiest way to run this application is going to be to download the Expo Go application from App Store or Play Store on Android and scan this QR code. For that, you don't need anything extra. If you have Android emulator, simulator, you can go ahead and run them by pressing I in this terminal or A here. That's what I'm gonna do so that you can see it as well. Rogelio, hello, Abbas. Will you add turn-by-turn directions? I don't have it in my plan, turn-by-turn directions. However, when requesting the route, we also get the turn-by-turn directions. So we have a list of them, we can display them, but I'm not sure like how to go about them next. So we're gonna see together what do we do with that. New place with new background of Mac. Yes, I upgraded the Mac, yeah. What streaming software you're using? I'm using Streamlabs, nothing more than that. Hello from Mali, hello. Can this be done for other vehicles? Yes, I mean like this is going to, you can do the same. You can take this inspiration to apply it for like an Uber-like application and so on. I'm gonna show you a couple of parameters. For example, for navigations, we're gonna, instead of querying it for cycling or for walking, we're gonna query it for driving. So that's going to be the only difference. We want React Native CLI projects. I don't think you do. I don't think the majority does. Let me actually start a poll and we're gonna see what the majority thinks. Let's do Expo or React Native CLI. Let's see what the democratic majority wants. And come on, is it starting? Must contain, come on. yeah, let me know what you'd prefer, Expo or React Native CLI. Anyway, here we have our application. Let's see a couple of files that we have here. Because it's an Expo router application, we have the app folder, and in the app folder, this is where our screens are going to be. The first screen that we have is the index.tsx. This is the home screen that you see here. And if we press on the show details, it's going to redirect to the details screen here. Okay, for the beginning, we're gonna work in the index screen. So probably we can already go ahead and do what? Clean up some things, maybe clean up that and only leave the container. We can do that later when integrating maps. Also, we have a components folder with a button. This is a simple touchable opacity for the button. And yeah, everything else we're gonna do together. So, where was that comment? So, Raj, when you say we want Expo, probably mean you want we want React Native CLI, probably mean you want React Native CLI, because 77% of people here want Expo. And I'm very happy with that choice, guys. I'm proud of you, really. I said that a lot of times, but the long story short is everything that's possible with React Native CLI, it's possible with Expo. There is almost no reason to not use Expo. Actually, if you'd put a gun to my head and ask me why wouldn't you use Expo, I don't think I could find a reason. But anyway, there might be. So yeah, just use Expo. Make your life easier. As someone said, it's either you're using a framework or you're building your own framework. Kiran, hello, thank you very much. Manos is saying, I'll be migrating everything to Expo soon. That's the move. When you go for an update cycle of React Native CLI application, you understand like the value of Expo. Because with Expo, it's quite easy to upgrade. The only thing that you have to do is just take into account like the breaking changes. React Native CLI is much harder. But anyway, let's get back to our project and start building. From time to time, I'm gonna check the chat, so let me know if you have any questions. But for now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start by installing the Mapbox. Let's go ahead at RN MapBox.github.io to the install. And the first thing that we need to do is we need the credentials. We need to get the credentials, so we need a secret access token that has download and read access and a public token. We're gonna do that in a second when we need them. For now, go ahead and copy the expo install command, but we're gonna have to prefix it with npx. So open up a new terminal here by pressing the plus, do npx and paste the command to install at rn mapbox/maps. This will add the package to our project. Let me do it like this. And then we need to configure the maps. What we need to do is we need to add the config plugin for React Native Mapbox maps that will specify our secret key, which will allow our application to download maps from Mapbox. For that, I'm gonna copy this array or this tuple, and we're gonna go into the app.json. And if you scroll down, you're gonna see what? Actually, is it here? I already forgot. Yes, we don't have, no, we have plugins here. So find the plugins inside app.json and let's add another plugin after the expo router. I'm gonna do comma and paste this one. So it should be an array. The first parameter is the name of our library and then the configuration. And just for me, I like to have this plugin somewhere at the end because we are working a lot with them. So I'm just gonna manually move them there just to have them here at the end of app.json. You don't have to do that, of course, but this is easier for me. Now we need this secret key that we can get by going to our Mapbox account and going to tokens. And here we're gonna press create a token. Let's just do here, give it a name. I'm gonna call it stream. And we need to find here the downloads read, if I'm not mistaken, but most probably that's correct. Downloads read. This is the scope that our token needs. So let's go ahead and press create token. Now that we have this token, we are going to be able to copy, and we are gonna only see it once. So make sure to copy it and let's bring it to our app.json instead of this option. The download token, we have it here. That's good. Let's move on with our installation guide. Okay. The next step is going to be to pre-build our application because React Native Mapbox depends on native libraries. Mapbox is only available as a native library for iOS and Android. That means that these packages are, let me actually first run npx expo pre-build. And maybe later I'm going to tell you like why we need to do that. First thing, we need the Android package name. So I'm gonna go with what's recommended here. Same for iOS. And the pre-build is going to create the iOS and the Android folders. These are the native side projects for iOS and Android. And that we need them because when we are using libraries with native code, we no longer can run them in Expo Go because Expo Go is an application that doesn't have that native code. So by pre-building and then running our custom development build, what we are basically doing is we are creating our own version of Expo Go specifically for our application that contains all the native code that our application depends on. It's in a way building your own browser, and Expo Go being Google Chrome, which has a limited amount of features, and by creating a development build, we create our own browser. So that's why we did the pre-build, which generates the configuration for Android and iOS folder. And the next step is going to be to run npx expo run Android or iOS. By doing this, we are actually building our native side project, and you're gonna see that we're no longer going to work with Expo Go. This process, as you can see here, I'm doing it locally. For that, you actually need if you are building for Android, you need the Android Studio, the Java, and all the native side configuration. For iOS, you need Xcode. If you don't have that, there is also an option to create the development build in the cloud using EAS. You can search Expo Development Client, and in the documentation, you're gonna see how to do that with EAS. And in that case, if you're working on a Windows machine, you can build in cloud for iOS and test it on a real iOS device. That's also possible. Okay, let's wait for the native build to happen. This usually takes a couple of minutes. And let's end the poll with 71% for Expo. Way to go, guys. And hello everyone who is joining. I see a lot of people are joining in. And if you're interested in what we're doing today, we're building a e-scooter application, and this is going to be a tutorial focused on Mapbox integration in React Native. So we're gonna work a lot with maps. We're gonna render maps, we're gonna render markers, clusters, routes, directions. So it's going to be a lot of work with mapping. If you're interested in integrating Mapbox in React Native, this is a tutorial for you. Incognito is saying this course is heaven sent. Just when I have an app idea, I wanted to bring to life. Share guide, please. Let me do that here. I'm going to share this one with you. Here is the guide, guys. I don't have everything here, just a couple of steps that we have to do. And I'm also going to leave it in the description box so that you can follow it if you're watching it after the video has been published. No space left on the device. That's fun. Let's create some space. What are we gonna delete? My nice application Famify. I hope it's on the iPhone device and not on my device, because that would be sad. What else I can remove? I'll remove also Expo Go. Before I actually try again, what I wanted to bring to your attention is the next chapter of using V11. By default, React Native Mapbox is going to use the version 10, but I've been testing our implementation with version 11, which is the latest one, and everything seemed to work fine. So I'm gonna risk it and go with setting the RN MapBox maps version in our config plugin in app.json. After our token here, let's add here a comma, and let's add also the version 11. Maybe we can even do a star here. And now when we're gonna rebuild, it's going to use a native side version of Mapbox 11. So let's try again to run the, maybe we could do pre-build again, just to make sure that the configuration is correct. And let's do run iOS again. Come on. Hello, King June. How are you doing? Can you explain how to optimize the code? What exactly are you interested in? What aspects of code? Huawei has its own store. How would you go about to build for a Huawei device whilst also on Expo? Haven't tried that, but I believe it should be similar to how you build for Android, because Huawei's are running on Android. It's just a different process of uploading it. But the application probably, as I understand, is the same Android application that you build with Expo. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hello, Incognito from Nairobi. Where can we write your questions for June 18th? Where? Send them at vadim@notjust.dev. GT bar, what do you mean full control of on project? What can you do in React Native CLI and you cannot do in Expo? Because as you can see, I just generated the Android and iOS directories and I'm still using Expo, and it's still an Expo managed project. And if I need to change something there, I can do the changes manually, which is not actually recommended, because in that case during upgrades you can lose those changes, but you can do that. Or you can simply create a plugin, as this library has done, the React Native MapBox. This is an Expo plugin that takes some configuration and then it does the changes for us. So if you're interested, you can even look at the node modules. You can go to React Native at, where is it? Let's find, I'm gonna show you React Native MapBox. And here you should see, let's see, app plugin.js. Let's see where it's coming from. It's coming from here. So these guys have created this plugin that will do these changes and configuration on the native side. This is just the, maybe I can look into the source. Plugin. Yeah, I don't know like where exactly is that file. Find in folder with MapBox. But anyway, you create these plugins and you have all the possible control over it. Mapbox is totally free for any number of requests. No, that's not true. Mapbox, where was their website? Mapbox.com. We have a pricing table here, so it's definitely not free, but we have a free tier which allows 100 monthly active users, 100K monthly requests for the direction API, and so on. So it's quite a lot of things included in the free. For the Maps SDK for mobile, as you can see, it's 20K users, monthly active users for free. So that's a lot of users. If you're gonna have 100K active users, it's gonna be $300. What's going on there? Is our application built? No, it's not built. Duplicate libraries. I think might be because I did it 2 times. So I'm gonna do npx expo prebuild -- clean, which will first remove the folders and then recreate them again, just to make sure everything is okay. I'm also running low on memory. That might be impacting our process. Oh, come on. Something with pods. Pod install failed. I'm going to do remove iOS directory completely. and pre-build clean again. What's happening with the pods? Let me check my system storage. Hopefully I'm not running out of storage. Oh no, I'm running out of storage, guys. Oh boy. Most probably that's the problem. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to delete something, but what? I have no idea. 60 gigabytes in the bin. Perfect. That's not something that you'd like to see when building live. Let's do empty trash. You know what's that? That's the first module of our React Native Mastery course. And while we are emptying everything here, actually, if you don't know, I'm actually working on a new course called React Native Mastery, which is going to be the ultimate course for building React Native and Expo application. It's going to have everything that I've learned by building more than 50 applications over the last 6 years. And yeah, it's going to contain 7 different projects. 3 of them are already ready. I'm working on the rest of them. It's going to be ready somewhere in autumn, but this month we're gonna open the doors for the first batch of users, a very small group of users that's gonna help me go through the course, test it, see, and give me feedback. So if you want to be the first one to check it out, go to notjust.dev/React Native Mastery, join the waitlist, and I'm gonna let you know very soon when we open the doors for the first couple of people. Okay, so I think I have a bit more storage now. Let's just try again. Come on. Oh, it's a bit bumpy on the start. Hopefully now it's gonna work. What's going on there for iOS? Let's do what it suggests. Pod install, wrap update. Let's do rmrf pods to remove the pods and then pod install. What's going on? What is the main advantage of using Mapbox over Google Maps? I'm gonna get back to that, but short answer is flexibility of what you can do. Like you can adjust a lot of things. Like it's very complete mapping solution. Google Maps is just for easy getting started and so on. But if you want a very unique experience with unique styles, with unique things in the maps, like Mapbox is much more, from what I learned during the last days. What's going on here? Cocoa Pods, why are you messing with me? I was not planning for that, you know? I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna remove iOS and I'm gonna do npx expo pre-build clean. Come on. Attempting to. Oh, wait a second. Malformed argument. It's my problem. It's my mistake. Wait a second. Here, when I specify the Mapbox version, let's do 10.11.0.0 as very specific version because it didn't like that version as I saw above. Now let's do npx expo pre-build clean again. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. I just assumed that version style is going to work, but it apparently didn't. So I just specified a specific version, 11.0.0. Let's see if it's gonna work now. Kieran is asking, can you give me some good motivation to switch to or focus on React Native mobile development? I have good experience in React Native web. Oh, that's a very good question. I don't know, just think about how many times are you using your mobile phone every single day and how much attention span, like just open your mobile phone right now and look at the screen time and see how much screen time are you on your device. And think about that, some of that screen time can be in your application that you're gonna build. Okay, so pre-build work, let's do npx expo run iOS for finally building and seeing our application on the device. Come on. We can try with Android too. Oh, we can test it definitely, but building with Android is quite slow, especially for me, I don't know. But I think generally in community is missing a lot of tutorials about how to write native modules in Expo. I think it would be a great tutorial and worth the price. I think we even have that on our YouTube channel. I definitely have done a tutorial on Expo modules or how to build an Expo module on our YouTube channel. You can check it out. But this is a very niche and specific topic, so. I made a development build with EAS. Perfect. Is Mapbox open source, free, and a good alternative to Gmaps? Mapbox, not sure if they are open source. They have some open source library, but it's definitely not free. I already showed the pricing, but we might have some open source stuff. I don't know. I have a flat list carousel with 5 items. I want to make it scroll infinitely bidirectional with these 5 items. I was wondering if you have ever done something similar. I haven't, but I saw a library for that based on Reanimated. How is it called? Maybe React Native Reanimated carousel? Yeah, I think it's this one. React Native Reanimated carousel. If you want to have infinite scroll component. Let's give him a star. Okay, compiling, come on. Okay, our application has been built and we see on our device it wants to open in a custom application called Lime app, the name of our application. So we no longer work with Expo Go. This is a very custom build for our application, which will contain our React Native Mapbox code. So that if everything is working fine, we can go ahead and continue the installation guide. Let's see on the install what else do we need here. Permission and locations. If you want to show the location, oh boy, I need also the location. On the map with location path component, you can use Expo location. Yeah, we're actually going to need this package, but if you want to show the location, and actually we're gonna need it right out of the box. But anyway, let's just start, because I don't want to bore you with only installation. Let's just see something on the screen and then think about the next steps. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to examples, and we don't have a getting started guide, which is quite hard for people who are getting started. So what we will do is probably just follow what I'm doing, because I don't have any resources for easy getting started guide here. Let's just look here in our guide. We install the MapBox, and the next step is going to render the map on the screen. For that, we are going to create a new component called map.tsx. In this component, let's export default function map and render, I don't know, let's start with a text that will say map. And then we're gonna actually render the map itself. Import text from React Native. Let's go ahead and import this custom map component in our app index, which is our home screen, and render it inside this container, or maybe even instead of a container. Let's remove everything and render the map that we can import from. Why don't have imports here? Come on, I need them. Import map from components map. Now, if I reload, we should see their map, and let me check if hot reloading is working. Yes, it's working. So everything is working so far. Perfect. Let me, in the guide, we see that we can render a map view like this. Let's go ahead and do that here. Import map view from RN MapBox maps. Instead of a text, let's go ahead and render the map view like this. Map load error, failed to load 401. That means that we are not authorized. So we need to also provide our public token here. I don't remember how we provide it. Let me just double check that. In my map here, it's map.setAccessToken. Okay. But where is it from? Oh, it's, yeah, I know. So we need the access token, which is going to be a string, and then we're going to import the whole map box here. Oh, come on. Besides the map view, so first map box, and then we destructure the map view, and then we can call mapbox dot set access token using this access token. Now, if we provide actually our access token there, everything is gonna work. Where do we get the access token? We get that from Mapbox dashboard. Under the tokens, we have the default public token here. Copy this token. You can provide it through environment variable. I'm gonna keep it simple and paste it right away in the code here. And now the map should work, but we don't see it. We don't see it because it needs a style and a flex one to make sure that it expands on the whole screen. And right there we have our globe that we can scroll. and also zoom in and see everything. Perfect. Look at that. The cool thing about the Mapbox is that you have a freedom to adjust the styles of your maps like completely. Like you have a lot of freedom here. To do that, you can look at Mapbox styles. And here in the Mapbox documentation, they show us a couple of URL like standard for this map, where here we're gonna see like the V12, the V11 for the light, dark, satellite, and so on. Let me check this dark. So I'm gonna copy this URL, and the only thing that we have to do is give it here to the map view as style URL, and we're gonna paste Mapbox styles Mapbox dark V11. Just like that, we have a completely different style for our map. If you're building like an outdoor thing, like you can do a satellite maybe. I'm not sure if it's gonna work in terms of version, but we can try. Yes, this is the satellite view of the map. Oh, look at this. Someone has a pool here. Yeah, and a lot of things can be done here. These are just some of the pre-built styles, but as far as I know, you can build your own styles with their studio. I haven't tried that, but it should be possible. So just look at the Mapbox studio and it should show something. Anyway, this is the map, and these are the styles. Oh, come on. The next step that here I render the map, I render the styles. The next step is to render the camera. And for the camera, we can also say that we want the camera to follow the user location. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it here. The camera should be inside the map view. So let's, instead of self-closing the map view, let's actually open and close the map view. And inside it, let's render the camera, which was imported from the same React Native Mapbox. Let's save. And for the camera, you can do follow user location. And if I reload, it should go to my location, but because I didn't install Expo location, I think it's not going to work. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. But we can try. And to show the user location, there is another component called puck, location puck. This is the dot on the map that shows the user location, and it's not showing up. That's because we didn't install Expo location. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We're gonna open the terminal, and we have to do npx expo install expo location. This is going to install the library, and we will need to adjust some configuration for the permissions. If I remember correctly, in Maps installation guide, they show us about permissions for location access. So this is done through an Expo plugin by specifying the Expo location permission string. So let's copy that. Let's go to app.json, and after the array that represents the config plugin for the maps, we're gonna do a comma here and add another array for the configuration for Expo location. Here you need to provide the proper string reasoning why your application needs access to the map. After we do that, what's left to do is to rebuild our application for the new changes, for the new native libraries to be installed in our application. We can do that with npx expo pre-build without clean, and then npx expo run iOS. This will rebuild our native site project so that it has this expo location and we can render the user location on the map. You look like you're sweating. I don't know why, but actually no. It's just the lamp is very close to me and I just have to figure everything out later. So yeah, I'm very, very shiny today. Hopefully I don't blind you there. Is there anyone here in watching us live who has experience with Mapbox, who has worked with Mapbox and knows more about it than me? Let me know, because from time to time I might ask you something or you can tell me like what else is possible, because again, like as I said, like so many things are possible with the Mapbox and I'm just scratching the surface here. I'm just showing you how to get started with it. But I'm really curious like what's possible. And after installing expo location, we right away have the, when we render the map, we get the, hopefully I'm showing the screen. Yep. We get the pop-up and let's go ahead and allow usage of location. And here we are, here is our location puck, which is rendered by this location puck component. If I remove it, it should go away. Yes, as you can see, it's not displayed. So location puck is for this, camera is for the camera itself. And we can also specify for the camera follow zoom level. I don't know, follow zoom level, but it's good for now. You can also do follow zoom level 16 if you want like farther away, 20, 10, 1, you're gonna see the whole globe. 16 was probably fine, but you can see a couple of blocks away. Alright, so that was our camera, this is our location. You can look at the documentation for all of these components that we are using and see what else is possible. For example, for the camera, what we have to do is we're gonna go to the Mapbox, React Native Mapbox documentation, and under components, let's look at the camera here. The documentation is not one of the best, but it shows at least like what properties it have, and you can kind of guess like what they're doing. Like the center coordinate, like where you want to center it, the bounds is the bounds, heading, pitch, zoom, padding, and so on. So as you can see, a lot of properties. Then you have the location puck. This is that shows the user location. You can specify the Android mode, but it's deprecated. There is puck bearing, and this is showing like where you are looking for, where the direction of your phone, or where you are, how do you put that? Where you're facing. So in application like ours, where we want to also help people navigate and move closer to the scooters, it's going to be helpful to specify the puck bearing. Or let's start with bearing, or how is it called? And it's not for the camera, but it's for location puck. Puck bearing enabled, and then bearing, puck bearing, here we can specify heading. Where are we heading? And as you can see, it shows where we are heading, like direction north. And also, you can also do pulsing is enabled true. And this will make the circle pulsate. Perfect. Again, for more information, go ahead and check. You can change the shadow, you can change the actual image that you show the user, and other things. Actually here, like not a lot of things for the location pack. All right, let me go ahead and do a I'm actually going to move my access token to the .env. I'm gonna remove them later, but at least like not to have them here. Let's take this one from here and move them to the .env as expo public mapbox key equal to this one. Let's take the name of our environment and let's use it in the map. Instead of access key like this, we're gonna use process.env.expo public mapbox key or nothing. And it has to start with expo public because this key is a public key, like it needs to be in our code. And to use it, we're gonna have to go ahead and restart our server by doing npm start. We see here that it loaded the environment and it's using Expo Go. So let's press S to switch from Expo Go to development build. And then we can reload our application to load the new JavaScript files. And now it's using the environment variable for the key. Yes. Now I can go ahead and do a git add, git commit -m, install and set up React Native Mapbox. Nice. Are you in front of Sagrada Familia? No, actually I put the location here. It's not my actual location. But this location here, I think, is in front of Sagrada Familia. But I'm somewhere in the area. Are you also from Barcelona? So the next step in our process is going to be to render markers or to render the scooters. This again is not very straightforward, but I'm gonna walk you through and explain what do we need to do in order to render these shapes or these items on a map. Before that, let me just go through some questions or comments. Karif is saying we're going to totally replace Google Map with Mapbox in our project, but I am not sure Mapbox has limited functionalities or not. Example ETA. ETA for directions, estimated time of arrival, that's what you mean? So Karif, like from the very limited research that I have done, this React Native Mapbox it covers a lot of ground to integrate maps. For the direction side, there is a library for that, but I think it's not supported anymore. So if you look React Native Mapbox directions, there is this library, but is it this one? No, it's not this one. There was a bit more recent library for the directions. or navigation, not direction, sorry, navigation. I was talking about navigation. For navigation, there is this library, but it's last updated last year. I saw in the issues that people saying that this is not maintained any longer, but it would be really cool if some community people would support it or take over or build something like this, because it's really powerful and it would allow like this navigation. For a very custom thing, like you can create a native plugin yourself and simply use the Mapbox navigation SDK that is available both on iOS and Android, and your plugin would simply help you connect the two together and give you access in React Native. Yeah, like ETA like definitely should be there. Today we're going to use in the navigation, we're gonna use a navigation API, not a navigation SDK, but an API. And specifically directions, to get direction and routes and render them on the screen. But this is limited because we cannot update the location in real time, we cannot show like actual navigation or step-by-step. So we're gonna have a very limited implementation of what we have at our disposal. Off-duty bar, yes, I just delivered one project in a company with turn-by-turn navigation, but I see native modules to achieve that. Yes, but I also use React Native Mapbox for just markers and drop path on a map. That's it. Perfect. That's it's nice. So off-duty, as I understand, like you created a native module for the navigation side, right? For the navigation SDK. Thank you very much, Salvo. On the device, after building the application, it was slower and performance worsened. That's a bit weird. Did you build it like for production and run it on the device? Come on. So here we have import Scotoer data and the pin image. I'm gonna leave the Scotoer data here. And you're also gonna have access by accessing the link, scooters.json. And here let's add them from my project. Where is it? So now our goal is going to be, where is our application, is to having a list of scooters with their location, knowing their latitude and longitude, we can draw them on the map so that the user can find them. In usual, like in the real world, you're gonna get this data from your backend, and in this project, we're gonna use it from a JSON file to simplify things. So this JSON file, I'm gonna provide it to you, and let's get it somewhere here. Is it this one? No, this is example. Come on, where is it? This one. So I have here data. Let me take the scooters.json. I'm gonna take this array that I generated. Guess how? Of course, using ChatGPT. And here we have 30 scooters somewhere around me with their longitude and latitude. You can take them from here. Let's call it data/scooters. And also another thing that we're gonna need is the scooter pin or like an icon that we will render on the screen. That's in our assets. It's called pin. Let me move it to the Notion part. Come on. And come on. Bear with me for a second. Oh, come on. What's going on here? Reveal in Finder. Come on. Here. Come on, there is something going on here. Okay, give me just 1 second so that you can also have access to this one. Project, let's go here. Assets. And here is the pin. Go ahead, download this one and add it to your assets. That's what I'm gonna do exactly. Let's go ahead and copy this code for the scooters.json, and in our project, where it's here, I'm gonna create a new folder called data, and here I'm gonna create a new file, scooters.json. Here I'm gonna paste the array of our scooters, and I'm going to bring also the pin inside our assets. So here is the pin.png that we want to display on the map based on the data that we have here for the latitude and longitude of our scooters. Let's go ahead and open the map here because that's where we're gonna work in. So rendering things we imported. Feature collection, okay. So rendering things on our map happens with layers. For example, you have a layer of scooters, then you have another layer for parking locations, then you have another layer with, I don't know, danger zones, another layer with buildings and so on. And each layer starts with the source of a data. So the shape source, we're gonna render it here. The shape source needs an ID, so we're gonna call it scooters. And it needs the shape. The shape is that data or the array of features that we want to render. So the shape is going to be a feature collection that we're gonna import from import feature collection from a helper library called turf/helpers. Is it feature collection? Yes. I named it wrongly, but it's not like that. It's feature collection. So a feature location expects an array of points. An array of points that we're going to define, or an array of features actually. And point is one feature, where a shape is a feature. So let's start by defining a couple of points. For example, the first one is going to be this point with some locations. Let me check in the data, for example, this point, this longitude and this latitude, where 41. So this is one of our points. We can copy the point and have the second one in this array. Okay, but we don't see anything on the map yet, because the shape source is only responsible for providing the data about our shapes. Now, based on this shape, we can go ahead and render things visually on the screen. So one of the things that we can render on the screen, we can render circles, we can render shapes, we can render icons, images, and so on. So let's render a what? A symbol layer. Symbol layer. The symbol layer also needs an ID. So the ID here is going to be Scotoer icons. The symbol layer also needs what? What does it tell us? It needs a style. So let's provide the style for this symbol layer. This is not a React Native style. This is a custom symbol layer style where we specify how do we want to render it. We can render it as text or something like that, but we're going to render it as what? As an icon. But can it start with a text? Hey, I don't think so. Or maybe text is not a valid layer style. Yeah. So we're gonna render it as an icon. Icon image. It's going to be pin, which we also need to provide a bit later. Then we're gonna provide our styles as well. Anyway, we don't see it yet on the screen because we didn't provide an icon for it. And even though I might have mistaken the longitude with latitude. Come on. Can it be the case? I don't know. We're gonna see later. But anyway, besides the symbol layer where we are referencing the image pin, we also need to provide this image here. So for that, let's first import the pin from assets pin.png. Is it there? Assets pin.png. And then we need to provide it using the images. Inside the shape source, we're also going to provide a list of images. Images. And this component should also be imported from the maps. Like this. So we provide the images property, which is an object that has icon or pin. Okay, something should happen. Maybe indeed I have to provide them the other way. Should it be this one and then this one? Come on, what's going on? For camera, let's do a lower zoom so that we can see a larger location. Yes, and just like that, we should see the pin on the map. And here I'm going to also change this where latitude with longitude, I'm gonna change them the places. And now we don't see them because I think they're too large. No. That means that it was correct from the beginning, right? And this one was displayed. Yeah, that one was displayed and this one was not. Now, do we have two of them? I don't know. Why don't we have two of them? Someone send help. Oh, because they have the same location? Yeah. Why did they put them with the same location? Yeah. If I do 8. Going crazy. What's going on? Feature collection is an array of points. An array of points. Long, lat. First one is longitude, then is latitude. Point, longitude is a small number, yes. Okay, here we are. Okay, when they are close together, we're not going to be displayed both of them. But for that, we're going to implement a bit later clustering. But for now, they look good. The only thing is that I want them a bit smaller. We can adjust that in the symbol layer by providing here the icon size or just size. No, it should be icon size of 0.5, which is half of the original size of the icon. Okay, with 0.5, I think it looks better. Perfect. So now that we know how to render a couple of them here, let's go ahead and extract this feature collection from here into the const scooters features equal to a feature collection like this. Now we're gonna pass these scooter features to the shape of our shape source, and everything is working back. And what we want to do is, instead of manually creating here some points, I want to loop through all the scooters that we have in our array and create a point for each of them. For that, let's go ahead and import scooters from data/scooters, and here I don't know, I can create them separately. Points equal, I'm going to map through the scooters, and for every scooter I'm going to create a new point with the following things. The scooter dot, is it latitude? The small one first. Small one is longitude. Okay, longitude, and then scooter dot latitude. Now we should have an array of points, similar to how we have here in the feature collection. So I can replace it like this with points, and now we should have a bit more scooters on the screen, and as we zoom in, they appear on the map, and we can look through all of them. As we will zoom out, they will not be displayed on top of each other, but I think you can adjust that through the styles here if you want to actually render all of them. For example, I can allow overlap. Probably if you set it to false, like they are actually going to overlap. So if I do false, true, yes. If you allow overlap, they are all going to be displayed, even if they are overlapping. So it depends on how you want to do that. Again, a lot of flexibilities in the style and how you want to render them. Whew. So, what if we give simply points here? Will it work? No, it wants a feature collection. Maybe we can create the feature location here, like in line, not to have a separate line for it, and here just an array of points. Okay. What's next? Let's go ahead and before we continue, I'm going to go ahead and do git add, git commit, render markers on the map. For more information, check the shape source documentation in the Mapbox documentation. Where is it? I already lost it. Come on, here. Let's search shape source. Here it is. So we can either give a URL, that's also possible, or we can give a shape, which is either a feature collection, a feature, geometry, animation, and so on. We're gonna look the next step into clusters. We can show like max zoom level. We can also have on press, and whenever one of the items in that shape are pressed, we're gonna be notified. We need that for a bit later. And another thing that we worked with now was the symbol layer. So the symbol layer should be here. Is a style layer that renders icon and text labels at points or along lines on map. Actually, there is something that I didn't show in terms of styling. If I'm going to zoom in here and look at where the pin is pointing, like if I zoom in, the point where the pin is pointing to changes because it's not centered correctly. We can adjust that as well through the style here as, how is that style? Icon anchor. So we can specify that icon anchor should be on the bottom. And here it should be anchor like this. So you can specify values like, well, we can have a look at this documentation for symbol layer. Icon anchor. It can be either center, left, right, top, bottom, top, left, top, right, and so on. I just want the bottom of the icon to be the anchor, or to be where the location is. And when I zoom in, it's going to stay relative to that location, the point of a marker. And I don't want to allow overlap, right? Or I want? Yes, I want, because in the next step, we're going to implement clustering. So what we can do with a shape source or with a symbol layer, I think with a shape source, is to enable cluster. If I do that, is it as simple as doing cluster here? I think so. So as you can see now, we have only two icons because these are the two clusters. They were clustered together. If I zoom in, we're gonna see that they will split into individual items until we get individual scooters. And as we zoom out, they will be grouped together into clusters. That was by simply providing the cluster here. Like that, and if we are really far away, we're only going to display one of these items. Perfect, but like from the UI perspective, it's not very clear if this is an individual scooter or if that is a cluster of scooters. So what you can do is you can render the different things on the screen depending if we are rendering a cluster or an individual item. To do that, I'm going to render here above a circle layer. Is it a circle layer? Yes. Let's render a circle layer, which will render circles on the screen based on the feature location. So for the circle, we're gonna do here ID equal clusters, and for the style, let's start with simply circle color, green, I don't know. And yes, it works. We see some green circles there. Not sure if it's very visible. Maybe if I make them red, it's going to be visible. So as you can see now, for every scooter location or cluster location, we display an icon. But the location are displaying both the circle. I think we can make it bigger so that we can see. With circle radius. I'm gonna copy the whole styles from here because I wanted to show you like step by step, but these are going to look better. So we just set the color to green. We make it a bit larger, we decrease the opacity, and we add a stroke width to be better visible. But in fact, what I want to do is I will go to the top. I will open this UI on Behance, which I found, because I want to copy the color green to display it with proper green. Where is it? Should I take this green? Yeah, I think this is the green I'm interested in. So here, instead of normal green, I'm gonna do, I'm gonna display this green. And maybe no opacity, like opacity 1. Yeah, that's good. So what do we see here? What's going on? So what do we see here is that for every point, we are displaying both an icon and a circle. But in fact, we want to display either a circle if this is a cluster, or an icon if this is an individual item. We can do that by applying filters on the layers. So we can provide here a filter with some properties like has, and I think, how did I do it? Has, the filter of the has point count. So if it has point count, that means that that feature is a cluster, because only a cluster will have a property point count. Now we see that they are rendered, but if we're gonna zoom in, when we're gonna get to individual level, they will not render the circle, because in that case, the data, the feature, does not have a point count. It's not a cluster. The last step to finish this one is to do the opposite filter on the symbol layer that displays our icon pin. So we're gonna do I think here it's a bit more tricky. I think it's another array where the first part is a string with question mark, which basically is like if not. So here we say that render a circle layer for our feature if it has point count. Here we're saying render an icon if it doesn't have a point count. And as you can see here, we have either a circle or we have the icon. And if we're gonna zoom in, the circles will become icons. Perfect. That's clustering. It's a bit tricky to implement it, but it's very powerful. It's again like you have full flexibility of everything, like how you render and what you render. And lastly, I'm also going to render another layer that will display the number of items in a cluster. And I was saying that the cluster will have a property called point count. Let's go ahead and create another layer on top of the clusters called a symbol layer, because the symbol layer is for both icons and text. So a symbol layer with ID. The ID of this layer is going to be clusters count. And the style of this is going to be the following. We need to provide a text field. The text field can be, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. And in that case, we have 1, 2, 3 on all of them. If we want to dynamically take the text field, we're gonna give here an array with what? With get, the operation get, and then the property with the name point count. And this is where we're gonna have the point count. And before I move further, let me show you the shape of our feature and what data it has, so that you know like what are the possibilities, like what features you can get from there. For that, I'm going to add to my shape source, I'm gonna add a on press with that will give me an event, and I will do console.log json.stringify event null and then 2. So in this case, when we press on one of the shapes, we're console logging it so that we can visually see what data are we working with. I'm gonna clear it. So if I press on one of the clusters, we're gonna see data about that cluster. We see that the feature has the ID 13. It has these coordinates. The type is a point. It has properties, and this is the property that we are working with, point count. It has 3 points inside that cluster. It also has, like, if it's cluster true, maybe we could use this cluster instead of point count to filter them. Maybe that would be even better. And yeah, it has also the coordinate and the point, which I think is the point on the screen. And if I press on one of the items, we see that the properties is empty. It doesn't have anything. It only has the coordinates. So this properties has point count. This one doesn't. Now let's go ahead and render the variable from our feature called point count in our layer that will render the count. So get point count. Actually, we already do that. And we see one of them is 2. Here it's 6. If I'm going to zoom in, we're going to see that indeed there will be more. And if I zoom all the way out, we're going to see that we have one single cluster with all 30 scooters that we have there. Perfect. What else can you do here on the symbol layer? Probably you can adjust a bit the styles of the text. For example, the text size, the text color, the pitch alignment, and so on. 18. I don't think white is good there, but yeah, let's leave it like that. I didn't find a way to make it bold. So if you know, let me know. Oh, come on. And just like that, we have pins and clusters. I think that's everything I wanted to show here. Let me just double check for the circle layer. Oh yeah, below layer ID. Sometimes, I'm not sure how to simulate that, but if we do some changes, I don't know, for example, to this color of the circle layer, I didn't like that. Okay, in this case, you see, we do not see the cluster count because we didn't specify how we want to render like on top of each other. However, we can say that the circle layer, the circle itself, should be below layer ID cluster count. And in this way, we make sure that the count is always going to be displayed on top of the circle. I'm getting insane with hiding windows. What else I wanted here? For circle layer, did we do everything here? Yes, all the styles, perfect. So that was clustering, that was done. That was render the pins, done. Provide the data, done. Create the collection, done. Perfect. That was our clustering. Hey guys, how is it going? We became a bit yes, okay. Thanks for your tutorial, web development using Expo Go. Okay. Are you still here? Are you still following along? Let me know. Because we are just getting started. Yeah, very interesting, like with filtering, with styling, and so on. A lot of cool possibilities. I wonder what other filters there are. Let's see if it's easy to find documentation for that. For example, for a symbol layer, filter expression. That was not for symbol layer. But maybe that's why I'm saying like it's hard. Like we have to jump from Mapbox filter expression at the layer level, which features should be rendered in a style layer. Equal icon. Expression name, argument 1, and so on. Like get temperature, Yeah, that's some weird way of interacting, but yeah, that's what we have to work with. Comparison get. We can interpolate. A lot of things. Okay. So what's going to be the next features? The next feature, directions. Muhammad, check out at the beginning of the video we did a poll about Expo and React Native CLI, so we're gonna see that the majority of people are using Expo CLI, so we're gonna go the democratic way. But if you're familiar with React Native CLI and you love it so much, everything that we use here, you can use in React Native CLI as well. Okay guys, so the next step I want to do. What do we want to do? I want to show when I press on one of these icons or one of these scooters, I want to show a route to that scooter, show the distance, and show in how much time you can reach it by walking. For that, we're going to use the API, the directions API from Mapbox. We're gonna use expo location to get the user's location, and then using a line layer, we're gonna render it on the map. So there is a couple of things going on here. Let me think how it's going to be easier for you to understand. First, let me show you the API. I think starting from the end and starting from the end goal and starting with rendering on the map is going to make a bit more sense. Let's go ahead in the Mapbox documentation to the navigation. Mapbox navigation, we have an SDK for like really powerful navigation systems for iOS and Android. But as I said before, there is no stable library that supports it for React Native. There is the React Native Mapbox navigation. You could give it a try, but the last commit was 1 year ago, and there are quite a couple of issues saying that it's not maintained anymore. So I cannot recommend you this one, but you could give it a try. So that means that we cannot use the navigation SDK. The navigation SDK is the one that would show like the actual navigation with step-by-step, with progress and so on. What we can do is use the directions API. This is going to give us the walking, cycling, driving routes from a point to a destination. It also supports like multiple waypoints and a lot of other configurations. So it's something. Let's go ahead and open the documentation here. And there is a direction API playground. The playground is a little tool that allows us to interact with the API and see how it works. For example, I'm gonna go somewhere close to where we are working in Barcelona. And in this playground, come on. Oh boy. No. I'm gonna remove this one. Where is it? Let's just pick a point and then another one here. Then the direction API is going to calculate you the route there. In the parameters here, we see the coordinates from which coordinate to which coordinate we're calculating, and the routing profile is driving. Let's switch it to walking. This is going to be a different route. For us, probably we're not going to suggest alternatives. We're gonna only suggest one route. So let's deselect this one, and you can see a lot of other options that you can do. In the additional annotations, we can also request the distance and the duration. And then the response is going to be this one. It has duration, it has distance, and it also has an array of geometry, which contains a bunch of coordinates for the path that we're taking. These coordinates are important because based on these coordinates, we are also going to draw in our application in a similar way a line on the map. So here you can look at the response, play with it, and you can also open it in a new tab. After you generate a response, go ahead and you should see it something like this in a raw version. I have it parsed and everything looks something like this. It's a lot of data, of course, for everything, but that's what it takes. Go ahead and copy this JSON file, and let's start from a JSON file, and then we're gonna do the request ourselves. In the data, I'm going to also move here a sample JSON file like that. From here, I'm going to bring the route.json in the data. So route.json is the same shape as you saw that the API is going to give us. It has routes, array, with duration, distance, and all the intersections, step-by-step routes, and so on. It's crazy how much data, but let's go ahead and use it. So having a sample request in the map, let's go ahead and import it, similar to how we imported the Scotoer. Import route response from data route.json. Now we need from the whole response, we need to go in the routes array at position 0, so we need to take the first route, and we are going to get the route data equal routes response dot routes at position 0. Then what do we need from there? We don't need any legs. We need I'm gonna look here because it's going to be easier. For the routes, we don't need legs. We need geometry dot coordinates. We just need coordinates, the array of coordinates. So let's take dot geometry dot coordinates. Now we have a bunch of coordinates that can be used to render a route on the screen. Let's go ahead and see how we can do that. For that, we're going to use another shape source. And the shape is going to be a line with these coordinates. So I'm not gonna write it manually because it's quite a bit of code. Let's just copy this one. Let's change our variable name to direction coordinates, direction coordinate, which should be plural. And inside our map view, after we close the first shape source, this is going to be another shape, another layer in our application. And we are only going to render it if there will be direction coordinates. So what we do here is we render a shape. Let's make sure to import the line layer from Mapbox. And just like that, we should have the route there. Yes, indeed we have, I already see it. I'm gonna go at the top, and for the camera, I'm gonna zoom in a bit. Maybe 14, yes. And we see the exact route that we have built, that we have created there. So again, here we are rendering another shape source. And for the shape, we say that this is a line string with these coordinates. Then in this line layer, we can adjust even the styles. For example, we can have the same green color for the layer. Okay, that looks better. And you can have like the round line caps, join, line width 7, you can do 10, and so on. Will it include the distance between the user and the scooter and also reverse geocode to get the name of the use? It will include the distance between the user and the scooter. We already have the data in our scooters, in our route. Here we have distance and duration and distance. In a second, we are going to actually fetch this data when we click on a scooter, and instead of rendering like some random data from the dummy data, we are going to fetch this from the API. But what do you mean about reverse geocoding to get the name of the use? To get the name of the street or what? Maybe we can do that as well. I'm happy to see Mapbox tutorial as I have been facing a lot of React Native maps issue. Perfect. Have you tried Mapbox or you're still exploring it? Thank you for the live stream with Stripe integration. It saved my application. I'm so happy. Thank you for the message. Oh, Direction API, super cool. Yes, it's a lot of data for that Direction API. Does Mapbox have Street View similar to Google Maps? I think it has, but maybe it's not as powerful as Google Maps. But I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of experience with Mapbox. I just started trying it a couple of days ago. Street View, but Google Mapbox Street View style. It has, and I think it's very interesting. Like it looks really nice. Preview style. Look at this. But what I saw with Mapbox is the ability to also have maps for indoor buildings, which is crazy. Indoor buildings. What's going on here? Let's zoom in. Can we zoom in? No, we cannot. I cannot zoom there. Oh, I can do this. Should have buildings. I saw some cool styles. I think like you can adjust that yourself. Points of interest, place label icons. There is satellite. And what's cool, you can also download maps for offline. Mapbox, let me show what I saw. Indoor maps. No. No, the new version is way better. This is legacy. Maps. I don't know. Maps. Let's just go for this GS docs. Examples. Oh, here is something about oh, look at that. A 3D Eiffel Tower. And as you zoom in, it also shows buildings. It's not like the actual street view as Google Maps has. It's 3D. It's, I mean, modeled. But anyway, it's cool. And I think you can also have like indoor maps. I mean, I'm sure I saw that. .3D model. You can have like 3D stuff. You can add like this kind of raster images that displays data about weather and stuff. Display video on top of a satellite raster base layer. What? Let's see that. Wow. Look at that. It's so cool. That's nice. End path animation? What's that? To create end path effect to show movement. How can I do that? Line dash array. Line string, the same as I have, but what else it does? It has what? We're gonna see layer. It has a line background. Add a line layer with line dash array defined to fill the gaps to the dash array. And this is line dash yellow dash array. So if I use a dash array, my path is going to be displayed as dashed. Let's check. In the style of our line, if I do line dash array, which might be dash array like this, that means that our path, yes, it's going to be rendered as a dash array. So I can do what? 1, 0, just 0 and 1, and that's going to be a lot of dots. I think 1 is like how much? I don't know a lot about the dash array, but 1 is for how much is filled and the other how much is not filled. So you can show it like this. That's cool. If you want to play around with it, that's how you can do it. And as they did it here in the documentation, they just overlaid 2 lines on top of each other. As you can see, one line that has simply yellow color, and another one, where is it? And another one for the background that doesn't have a dash array. Cool. What else is possible? Let's see. I found like some examples that are really interesting. Custom fog to a map. Custom fog, guys. What? Look at that. You can add fog. You can add stars. Wow. Markers, these are quite default, like you'd expect that, but right to left, layer opacity, animate 3D building based on ambient sound. Animate 3D building based on any ambient sound. What's that? Wants to use your microphone. And hello, look at that. When I talk, I animate the buildings on a map. Wow, that's interesting. What? It's really cool. Animating a line. This is something that this example animates a line by updating the source each frame. I think there was like a progress stuff. Animation progress. Animate. I don't know. Animate a point along a route. Nice. Well, this list of examples is never ending. Look, I'm just at the middle of it. I'll probably spend some time like after the live stream to go through all of them because there are so many cool things. Create a gradient line using expressions. Heat maps. This is the first time I go through this actually. Icons above 3D buildings. Polygons for indoor mapping. Yeah, this I think is what I was looking at. You look at a museum and you see the actual rooms there. Measure distance. How do we do that? Because we need that actually. Oh, it's turf.length. I was using something like distance. We are using what? 0.1. distance line string, populate the distance container with total distance. Line string, where geometry coordinates, line string, torf.length. And we're gonna use something else, but we also will use the distance. Anyway, let's get back. Oh my god. I didn't know I can be excited about maps. Okay, let me close actually because I have too many things opened. And remind me what I was doing there. Yeah, we have like basic navigation just to draw a line based on a static file. The next step is going to be to fetch this data from the API and render it here. For that, it's quite simple because what we do right now is we have a route.json which has the response, but to get this response we simply have to send in the directions API. As you can see here in the playground, we first have to properly provide like the routing profile and so on. Let's disable alternative. Let's select GeoJSON. Here it depends. Like if you want the step-by-step instructions, you can leave it selected. I will disable it because I'm not sure what to do with it. Later we can enable it. It's quite easy. Continue straight. Okay. Overview full. If I do simplify, I'm not going to be able to get annotation. So let's do full to take also the distance and duration. And here is going to show the request URL, which basically means that we have to send a GET request to this URL. GET request to this URL. Basically, if you paste it in a browser, it's not authorized because I didn't provide my API token. But we're gonna provide the API token in a second. Let's just simply copy this URL from the dashboard. Let's bring it in our project and let's create a new folder called services. And here let's add a new file. What's that? This is directions or route, or how is it called? Directions. Let's create a new service called directions.ts. Here we're going to have a simple function, export function get directions. Later we're going to add here like some parameters, but for now let's keep it simple. Let's just simply do a fetch request to the URL that we just copied. It's a long URL, but we're going to simplify it in a second. The fetch request is going to send is going to request this data from there. So we need to get the response by awaiting the result from fetch. So let's do await fetch here. The function needs to be async. And then to get the response, as a JSON, let's do await response.json. Then we can do a console.log JSON. To call this function, we're gonna call it where? We're gonna call it in our components map. Let's have a function that we will call when we click on one of these items. Const on scooter press, or on point press, because it's not necessarily a scooter, it can also be a cluster. So here let's simply call the get directions function that we just created in our directions file here. It will not return anything, we just want to see the console log. The on point press is also going to be an async and it's going to receive an event. async. Let's take the onPoint press and give it to the onPoint press here, which has the type onPress event. Let's give it here. Maybe we can give here onPress event, which for me was imported from TypeScript, types, and so on. Maybe it's correct. And now if we look in the logs and I click on one of the items, we see code OK. If we see code OK, that means that our request from the directions, the fetch request, worked correctly. We see the distance, we see everything. Perfect. Before we move forward, let's try to add variables to our URL here. The first variable that I want to add is the base URL, which is going to be everything until walking. So Mapbox and so on. This is going to be the base URL. Let's switch this normal string to a template string using the backticks at the beginning and at the end to be able to insert there some variables. And let's replace this base URL with the variable base URL. Then what else? We're gonna have, these are also going to be variables, but we're gonna replace them in a second. Alternative false, annotation, distance and duration, continue straight, geometry, okay. Access token. The access token, this is the private key, as you can see. So let's take this one and replace it with process.env dot, and here we need the Mapbox key, this one. We have the access token key stored in the environment variable. So let's replace it properly here. Before we move forward, let's double check if everything is still working, if the request is okay. If I press here, we see code okay. Distance 10 watt, I don't know. But it has a couple of distance, right? Let me do here JSON.stringify JSON null and 2. So if I do like that, we should see it. Okay, that was waypoints. And here are geometry, which we need. Duration. The duration is for all the waypoints, but we have at the top the total duration and distance. We will need it a bit later. Okay. Now it's simply replacing the location from and location to with variables, and then sending proper data from our location to the location that we are looking for. So we're going to have two variables, point or from and to. Should we create them as point? I don't know. Let's just create them as an array of two values where we have latitude and longitude. So I'm going to remove all the numbers until the question mark. And we're going to start with the first variable. We're going to start from at position 0. Then we're going to add a comma and another variable from at position 1. So we're going to specify the latitude, longitude. Then after that, we need to add semicolons and the same thing, but now with the to property. 2 and 2. So from 0, 1 to 0, 1. Latitude, longitude, latitude, longitude. And between latitude and longitude, we have a comma, and between two points, we have semicolons. And you can have multiple of these points if we will have waypoints along the way. Okay, now in our map here, when we call get directions, we need to send two arrays here with lat long, lat long. Let me just check if it's lat long or long lat. So the first one is 2 and the second one is 41. That means that longitude and latitude, longitude and latitude. So here we need the from location, which is the location of my device. I'm gonna check it here in the features, location, custom. It should be 41 and where is it? 2. Or it's the other way around. I think it's the other way around. And it should be dot. Dot. Why I have such a short time memory? It should be 2 and then 41. This is the location of my user here on the simulator, which is the from, and the 2, we're gonna work it based on the event. So let me comment it out for a second and console log the event. The event, console log event, just to see what information do we have when we click on one of these items. When we click on the items, we have coordinates, latitude and longitude. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. So that means that we're gonna use event.coordinates.longitude, I guess, and then event.coordinates.latitude for the destination. And let's do also from the get direction function, let's return the JSON, the response. Return JSON. Const new direction equal get directions. Now the last step is to simply store it in state and use it instead of this dummy direction to display it on the map. So let's go ahead and do const direction set direction equal use state, and we're gonna do set direction with the new direction that we received here, but don't forget to await the call. And I'm gonna take this one, and the direction coordinate is not gonna come from the route response, but it's gonna come from the state, routes, geometry, and so on. And we're also gonna add question marks here because it might not be provided. Will it work? Let's give it a try. If I press on one of these, yes, it works. If I press on another, it shows the direction from my point to the scooter. Perfect, exactly what I wanted. The next step is to simply, instead of hard coding the my location, is to get it using the Expo location service. For that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use locations get current position async. So import const my location equal await location. That should come from expo location. Let's do import everything as location from expo location. Now I'm gonna do location dot get async. Get, how is it called? Get location async. Get current position async. Get current position async. And that should display, if I do console log, my location. That should display my location when I press on one of these. My location, it has coordinates, it has latitude, and it has longitude inside the coordinates. So I can use here location dot, not location, but my location dot coords dot longitude. And here I can use my location dot coords dot longitude. And just like that, even if I'm gonna change the location, it's going to work based on where I'm currently at. It doesn't work. Is it the other way around here? Why? Longitude. Don't tell me that, oh, latitude here, sorry, my bad. If I do it like this, yes, now it works. Yes, let's go. We have a proper direction displayed on the map, and we also have data about the time and distance. We're not using it yet, we're gonna do that in a second, but at least we are fetching the directions from Mapbox API. We get the directions with real data and we render it on the map like this. Boom, boom, perfect, 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 perfect. Let's go ahead and commit what we currently have, and we're gonna continue improving this with proper like displays, UIs, and so on. Git commit directions, git add, git commit directions. Directions, git status. Okay, perfect, perfect. Let me know how is it going. Give me just 1 second. I need the second round of coffee and I'm gonna be back. We continue because I still want to display more information about the route, like distance, time. I want to add, the plan is to also add some geofencing so that when you get close to a scooter, you can enable a button, for example, start ride. We're gonna do that by simply calculating the distance between the two items. What else? And recommend me more features. Let me know more things that you'd like me to build here. I think if we go into the application index in the stack and do here header shown false, it should look really dope. Yes, it does. And if I do status bar here, style, status bar, not from React Native, but from Expo status bar, light to display the, why it's not light, dark, light. What's going on? Layout, index, style. Isn't it style? Light. Status bar style, light. That's weird. What? Why sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't? In the layout, maybe I can do it in the layout. I don't know. A stack. And the status bar, let's move it to the layout. Still the same. Anyway, something is going on here and it doesn't want, but it should work. But anyway, now with a full screen map, like, it's really nice. Looks much more beautiful. Okay guys, I'm gonna grab a coffee. Let me know questions and also suggest any features that you'd like me to see build, but we still have a lot of things planned here for the application. So stay tuned, I'm gonna be back in a second. Okay, I am back and we continue. I got my coffee. Name of a street. Name of a street of a scooter. Right, that's a interesting question. Let's see. I think we should definitely be able to do that. I'm gonna add it to the other features, and if we show name of the street of a scooter. Perfect. Maps excites me too. You just can't tell the next cool feature at a glance. Yes. How long does it take to learn that course? The React Native Mastery, you mean? The React Native Mastery, where is it? This one. It's going to have 7 projects. I'm trying my best to distill everything in as short amount of time as possible. So my goal for the whole course is to be around 15 to 20 hours, but most probably it's going to be more. We just did the first 3. Don't remember exactly how much time it took, but it's going to be a lot. But anyway, like you build like a project one by one. It increases in complexity from easy to advanced, and in the end you're gonna build like one huge application. So when I have more data, I'm gonna tell you. Been training with Devember. It's awesome. Thank you very much. I hear a lot of people are using the Devember series to learn. Definitely, like probably we're gonna do it this year as well. Hi, hello. Thank you very much. Hello, Liz. Greeting from Sarasota. I hope we can access this later. Yes, everything that I do remains on the channel, so yeah, you're gonna be able to access it. Hello, David. Okay, so what do we want to do next? Our map is kind of getting quite huge right now, the file. It's at 100 lines, but anyway, I think that we're gonna start improving a little bit the code quality to take out some stuff, create some reusable components, move some data to context providers, because what I want to do next, let me see. We have fetch the route. Yes, that's done. We have get the route from the user location. Yes. Render route on the map. Yep. The next step is going to be the bottom sheet details. I'm going to reference the UI that I found on where? On Behance. Not sure if this is like official, but probably it is. And from here, like I looked at some UI of the application. Let me check what I want to show you. This is the map, quite similar to what we have. And here is what I'm referencing to. I want, when we click on one item, I want to display details about it in a bottom sheet here at the bottom, similar to what they are doing here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. But before, as I said, before I move into implementing this one, I would like to move some of the data that we have in some context providers. That's going to help us easier work with data in multiple components without having to send them from props to props. And I see that my light is very bad, so I'm sorry for that. This is very temporary setup, so we're getting there. The important part that I want to extract to a context is going to be the point that we press on, the scooter that we press on, something like the active scooter. So let's go ahead and create a new folder called providers or contexts. And let's create a new file here. I know, scooter provider.tsx. Here, I'm gonna start by creating a context. Scooter context equal create context, and it's going to be an empty object initially. Let's go ahead and export from here a scooter provider, export default function scooter provider, which is going to be a component that will receive children, so we can type it with props with children. And this function is going to wrap the children in our scooter context.provider with a value, and inside it we're going to render the children so that the children will have access to the data that we are going to export from this provider. Yeah, let's save. I'm not sure why it's putting in one line. And another thing that I usually like to export from a context provider is a custom hook use scooter, use scooter, I don't know, something like that, which is going to be a custom hook that will give us access to, let's do export const use scooter, which is a custom hook that will wrap the use context from React and will give us access to the scooter context. Now, what we have to do is use this scooter provider to wrap it around our map or the data. I'm gonna use it in the root layout. Import scooter provider, and I'm gonna render it instead of this one here. Now, all our screens in our application will have access to this scooter provider. Maybe you don't need this, like if you have a huge application, only wrap it around the component that has a scooter and maps, because not all the screens will need access to this data. In my case, it's a simple application, so I'm simply wrapping it around this layout. You can do that on the screen level itself, for example, on the index. Okay, now what will we need in this scooter context? Let's have a selected scooter, set selected scooter, use state, and initially it's not gonna have anything. Let's go ahead, and when we press on one of these scooters, let's save it in this state here. For that, we're gonna need access to both selected scooter and set selected scooter values. So let's explore them through the provider value. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go inside our map, in the components map. We're going to import our custom hook use scooters. So import use scooter from scooter provider. And we're gonna get access to the const something equal use scooter. What we want to get access to is we're gonna get access to the set selected scooter. And when we press on one of the points, we want to call set selected scooter. And here provide the data about the scooter that we selected. The data that comes from our scooters.json, so one of these objects. The thing is that if I go ahead and console log the event, when I click on one of the scooters, we're only gonna see the coordinates and so on. We're gonna see the feature with its properties, but I think the properties will be empty. So let me go ahead and actually console log a bit more data there. In the event, I'm gonna do json.stringify event null and 2. Now, if I console log it, we're gonna see the data about the point. So it has a feature with properties, which is an object that has nothing. So we only have information about coordinates. We never have information about the ID of a scooter that we clicked on. That's because we never provided our map when we render our shape with our points. We never provided more information about the points other than their latitude and longitude. However, when we create our points here, the cool thing about a point is that besides the latitude and longitude, we can also provide here properties. And we can provide the whole scooter object as the property of a point. Now, if we look into the same console log and press again on one of the scooter, we're gonna see that the properties objects from the feature has the scooter data. So we can send this and save it in state. So we're gonna save feature, which is an array, so we're gonna take position 0, then we're gonna go into the properties and take the scooter. So let's do that. We're gonna do event.features at position 0.properties.scooter. But we're gonna do that only if that exists, because remember, if we're gonna click on a cluster, we're also going to execute this function. So we need to only check if the scooter data exists, only then we're gonna set it as selected here. Object is possible null, so do we do question mark? Yes. Or maybe we do question mark here and we don't have to do question mark here. Now we set the selected scooter. We can go into the provider and console log here. Console log selected is going to be selected scooter. Let's check this out. In the map, I'm going to comment out this console log. I'm gonna clear, and if I click on this one, we see that we selected the scooter with ID 15. So now we have all the data from, for example, our backend about the scooter that we selected. From there, we can fetch more details. We can check like if we have details about our information, like the ID of a scooter or the charging status, how much is charged. We have this data here, and we're going to be able to use it in other parts of our application to display it, to render it. One second. Maybe explore the Places API. Places API of Mapbox. What's that for? I will check it out. But now, scooter provider. Okay. Another thing that I want to do is I will also move calculating the route, the directions to our provider. Because if I have the directions in the provider, then I can export them. I can also work with the time, with the distance and so on in other parts of my application. So let's do that somewhere here. I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna add a use effect to say that whenever the selected scooter changes, so I'm gonna add in the dependency array the selected scooter. I'm gonna create here a function fetch distance or fetch directions. This is going to be an async function. And if we have a selected scooter, we're gonna call the fetch directions function. Now in this fetch direction, from the map, I'm gonna move this part of the code. I'm gonna move the my location, the new direction, and also the set direction. So everything from here, I'm gonna move to the provider itself. We will need a couple of things here. First of all, we need the locations. So import everything as location from Expo location. The get direction, this is our utils functions. This is the service that we have created. The event coordinates longitude and event coordinates latitude. Now we can work with the selected scooter data that has lat and long. So let's replace it with the longitude with selected scooter.long. No, this is my location. My location will leave it like that, but for the second one, it's going to be selected scooter.long and selected scooter.latitude. Then we need the direction to store the direction in a state, the response. So the direction, we're gonna copy the whole state from here to our scooter provider. And we need to make sure to export the direction itself as a value of our provider so that from the map itself, we can import here that direction. Maybe I can simply export the coordinates itself. So let's copy this whole line just to move like a lot of this low-level logic from the rendering part to the provider. So here I'm going to export another variable called direction coordinates, and let's paste this code there. It's going to be direction, routes, geometry, and we can do coordinates as well. So now from the map, we simply have to import direction coordinates and replace, because the name is plural, replace it in our shape here, coordinates, and coordinates here. Now let's check if it still works. Now if I press on selected scooter, what it's doing, the onPress event, is simply setting it in state, then in the provider. Then from the provider, we see that the selected scooter has updated. So what we do is we call the fetch directions. We store it in the state and we export it directly the coordinates of a route. But here we can also export the maybe what? The route time, and the route time is going to be direction.routes at position 0 dot, I think, let me check the documentation, or the playground. Where did we have a playground? It's here. So response has routes, and the route itself has duration and distance. So route time duration, and then route distance is going to be direction distance. Now in the map, I don't know, we can take this route distance, and we can do console log, maybe route time, and console log time route time. So if I click here, we see time 437, which is what? Seconds? I think so. Let's check the response there, or the actual documentation. The routing, driving, okay. Profile coordinates, alternate notation. Include overview, read approaches, steps, language, voice units, notifications. Optional parameters. If for the driving, you can also see the traffic and so on. What's going to be the response routes, waypoints, code, routes? Duration, is it in what? A lot of data for EV as well. Distance. Duration. It doesn't specify what the unit. In seconds. So duration is seconds and distance is in meters. But most probably you can adjust like how you want it based on the location parameter or the I'm gonna show you if you are from USA. Overview radiuses. Language. So most probably if you that's for language. Voice units. But I don't see the actual units. So check the documentation. Like it should be possible to also do it in miles as well. But anyway, this is seconds. So for us, that's good. Okay, so now that we moved a lot of things there, we can clean up some of the imports that we no longer need here. I'm not specifying types. That's why you see red warnings. I'm probably not going to manage to properly type everything, but anyway, that's not the most important part. Yeah, I'm thinking like another step, you could also separate and extract to separate components, for example, the direction or like the route view from the shape, this shape that renders the points, the scooters. I think that would make sense to separate them in separate component and just render them here. Is going to make work a lot much easier. If you want, like we can do that together. It's not gonna take a lot of time, but it's going to improve the code quality a lot. So let's see. For example, we can add here the line route, which is going to be a component that receives some coordinates and renders a route like this. So let's export default function line route. It's going to receive coordinates and it's going to return the part from the map that is responsible for coordinates, like this shape. So let's copy the shape that renders this line. All together, we're gonna move it here, and here we simply import it from the maps and we use coordinates here, and because it has the same name we can simplify it like this. Let's import also the line layer, line position array, so we can type it properly by saying that coordinates is a, what was that? Position array. Position from mapbox array like this. And now this is a small component that is responsible only for rendering a line based on the coordinates. So now we can take this line route in our map, and if there is direction coordinates, let's render a line route with the coordinates, direction coordinates. Now this code is much simpler and it still works. We simply moved it to another file. And we can do the same for the shape of scooters. So let's do a new file, scooters markers, scooter markers dot tsx. Let's export default function scooter markers. And here we're going to move from the map the shape source scooters. So let's move the whole part until this part. We're gonna have to import a couple of things here from here, the circle layer, the images, feature collection. If we go back to the map, we will move the on point press to the scooter markers, because this is what handling this on point press. Let's also do on press event import. Back to the map, we will also need the points. We're gonna cut it from the map and move it to the scooter markers. Let's import the scooters from the JSON, but I'm gonna move it here. So we need the pin and the scooters there. We need the point and the feature collection from helpers. We need set selected scooter. This is coming from our use scooter provider. So let's copy the import. And from the map, also let's copy the use of this one and add it here at the top. We don't need the route time and direction. We only need the set selected scooter. What else? Points. Oh, points. I moved it here, but it should be outside that function. And now we don't see any red warnings anymore. You can go back to the map, and here inside the map, we will render the scooter markers. Let's clean a bit the map. For example, we don't need the set selected scooter. That's already part of that component. The on press event, the line layer, circle, image, shape source, and so on. So yeah, now even that use scooters is probably not part of here. It's part of a line route, but anyway, we can leave it like, or actually let's do that. In the line route, let's leave it like this. It's fine like this as well. But look how much better now our component looks. The map view is responsible for rendering the map, the camera, the location, the scooter markers, and the line route. Then if we are interested in changing something about the scooter markers, we're gonna go into this component. We're gonna work here again in a very small 50 line component. And if we need something about the line route, we will go here again, a 30 line component. So now like we separated like different logic in different parts, and it's going to be much easier for us to work with and improve, add features on top of our map. Scooter direction. Yeah, I think we're good now. Let's go ahead and commit the changes that we have now. I'm gonna do git add, git commit, refactoring, and we're gonna be ready for the next step. And as I said, the next step that I want to do and why we did all of the refactoring is going to be to render more information about the selected scooter in a bottom sheet navigation and the distance between it. Maybe explore the Places API. What's the Places API? Let me check. Maps. Mapbox Studio. This is where you create designs. But I don't see the Places API. Maybe Mapbox search. Geocoding. I think for displaying the street name based on a coordinate, we would need the geocoding API. We'll see if we have time for that. I'm gonna clean up a bit my okay. So let's go ahead and render details about the selected scooter in a bottom sheet in our application. For that, we're gonna use the React Native bottom sheet. Shout out to Gorham for supporting it. Let's start it. Make sure you do that as well. And let's go ahead and there is the documentation website from where we can go to the usage, or maybe actually on the first screen there is going to be the installation. So let's start by doing in our project. Let's open the terminal and let's do npx expo install the name of the library, and then we're also going to provide there the two dependencies, reanimated and gesture handler. I'm not sure if we already have them, but let's just install these three libraries: bottom sheet, reanimated, and gesture handler. The gesture handler needs one extra step, and that is going to be to wrap the gesture handler root view around our whole application. So that means that we have to go to our application layout and here wrap everything inside the gesture handler root view like this. I'm gonna close it at the end. It might not work because we need to rebuild, right? And to make everything work, we're also going to need to do flex. I'm not sure why it's working because I was suppose it wouldn't work. But with a flex 1 to make sure that the gesture handler takes the whole amount of screen space, everything should be working fine. And the reanimated also has some additional steps. Let's open the documentation for reanimated. And we just need to add the reanimated plugin under the babel.config. So find the babel config. For the plugins, let's add reanimated plugin here. Oh, sorry, it was added here at the top. So let's add it in the plugins array here. And make sure it's listed last. Now most probably we're gonna have to rebuild. So let's go ahead and do npx expo pre-build and npx expo run iOS. Let's wait for the library to be installed. And then inside the index where we render the map, we are also going to be able to render the bottom sheet. So let's go into the usage. This is what we have to import in our index.tsx from our app directory. Let's import the bottom sheet. And let's render it like this. Bottom sheet. Like this. Let's import this text from React Native. We don't need the reference at this moment. We don't need the one change at the moment. For the styles, what do we need there? Content container, line item center. We'll see if we need. Allow once for the application. We need to provide actually snap points. So in the bottom sheet, we need to provide snap points. The snap points is the height at which our bottom sheet should be able to be opened as. So if we provide 200, that means that the bottom sheet will be at 200 and we cannot close it, we cannot open it. If we provide 200 and then, for example, 50%, we're going to be able to open it first at 200, then at 50%, and that's it. So these are the snap points. Let's leave it with only one value, and also let's enable this close. How is it called? Close. Enable pen down to close. Enable pen down to close. That means that now if we're gonna pen down, the bottom sheet is going to close. Okay. But when we press on one of these items, or in fact, like when we start the application, it should actually be closed. So for that reason, I'm going to say that the index is going to be -1, which means the index specifies at what snap point should it start. If we provide -1, it's going to start closed. If I refresh, it starts closed. Now we need to say, like, if we select a scooter, then I want to open this bottom sheet. So let's go ahead. Maybe we should actually extract it to a component. Let's create a new file right out of the gate because it's going to be easier. We're not going to have to move a lot of stuff back and forth. So let's do here the selected scooter sheet.tsx and export default function selected scooter sheet, which is going to return our bottom sheet from them that we rendered here. So let's move it to the selected scooter sheet like this. we need to import bottom sheet, we need to import bottom sheet view, and we need to import text. Why it's not recommending me to import from React Native? Text from React Native. Now we can simply import it in our index and render it after the map. Selected Scooter sheet. It starts closed. If I delete this one, it's there. But we need to kind of conditionally open it only when we actually select a scooter. So first of all, we need to get access to the selected scooter through our context provider, use Scooter. There we exported the selected scooter. Now what we can do here is, using a use effect, watch when the selected scooter goes from undefined to actually being defined. So we're gonna add the selected scooter in this dependency, and if selected scooter is not null, let's do a console warn open. Let's go ahead and try to press on one of these buttons, and we see the open log here. That means that our use effect works. What we have to do is to actually open the bottom sheet. For that, we're gonna need a reference to it. So from the documentation, we saw that we create a reference using the useRef hook. useRef is imported from React, and we give this bottom sheet ref to the bottom sheet as a ref property. And then in here, we can access the bottom sheet ref.current dot, is it expand? Let's try. If I select this one, yes, it expands. And if I close, I think I would like to reset it, right? Or no? If I go here, it opens. If I go here, it's still open. If I close it and go here, it opens. Perfect. So the bottom sheet works. Now it's about the design. I'm so late today, but enjoy so much your videos. I have learned so much and enjoyed React that much more. Love from Zimbabwe. Hello, Nyasha. Thank you very much for the message. The tutorial is going to be published on the channel, so you have a chance to watch it later. You can pass enable the dynamic sizing. That's cool. So without snap points, you can pass here enable dynamic sizing, and that will take the size of what? Of a content. Let's see if I do this. Okay, maybe it needs some padding. Bottom sheet view. Maybe the content inside should be in a safe area view, so that they are displayed in the safe area view. No flex 1. Let's see what's the dynamic sizing here. The prop is required unless you set enable dynamic sizing, but enable dynamic sizing for content view and scrollable content size. Setting this prop to true will result in adding a new snap point to the provided snap points and will be sorted accordingly. And this might affect the indexing. For example, okay. Where is my text? It disappeared from there. The text is there. Margin bottom 20 or 50. And then we've enabled what am I doing wrong there? Anyway, I'm gonna keep it a bit simpler like this. Yeah, perfect, it works. With bottom sheet scroll view, it would work. Okay. Do not close on pan down. Why? I know, I feel that you'd like to close on pan down. So let's go ahead and render some stuff there. What do we want to render? We can render an image, some text. Let's see if I can find some Lime scooter PNG. This one looks good. Let's add it to our assets, scooter.png. And let's start by rendering here the image, where the source is our scooter image that we have to import. Import scooter image from assets scooter.png. Let's import image from React Native. We're definitely gonna need a view as well. So if I go here, let's go with a style. Okay, something is there. We're gonna fix the sizing and so on. I just need some stuff on the screen. Then you'd have like the model Lime S. You can get it like from the selected scooter if you have it. I'm gonna have it like this. Below you're gonna have, I don't know, the code and then like the street. So there you're gonna have like a text. And for this dot, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simply use a dot in the middle character. And I'm gonna copy it from Google like this and simply paste it here. And then, I don't know, let's render Madison Avenue. Madison Avenue. Okay, that's good. What else? On the right, we're gonna have an icon, a green electric icon for probably how much juice it has. So expo vector icons. Let's find an icon there. Energy, this one. How is it called? How is this icon called? This one, bold. Bold lightning from font awesome. So let's start by importing font awesome and render the, come on, why I cannot scroll? Render the component. And besides that, we are also going to render 12 kilometers in a text, 12 kilometers. Okay, so we have things on the screen. Let's group them together. First of all, let's think what groups we're gonna have. We're gonna have a left column and the right column with only the text and that one. So let's put everything at the front in a view and only the icon and the other one in another view together. So these are going to be our two columns. For that, we're going to change the parent to say flex direction row, and the first view is going to take maximum space, so it's going to have flex 1. Okay. Now this bottom sheet view, let's add there some padding. That's good. And also maybe a gap for spacing between the two columns, gap 10. Okay. Now let's focus on the first column. We have in the first column, we have, actually let's move the icon outside the column so that it's going to be its separate column. So we have 3 columns in total, like this. Okay. Let's style this one. Maybe I'm gonna start with a background to make it. Should I make it a gradient? Do you want me? But if I do gradient, I need to install linear gradient and then wait for a bit. So I'm gonna just simply take this color and do bottom sheet view, background color. It's going to be this one. Can I do it here? Style to be both on the both parts. Style, background color. Handle style, container style, background style. Oh, background style maybe. Yep, that's good. Okay, so the Lime text here is going to get some style as well. It's going to have color white, font size 20, font weight bold. Then the one on the bottom, maybe not bold, but 600. Yeah. One on the bottom is going to have style, color, gray. Looks good. Let's also increase the font size 20 as well, maybe 18. Okay. And on the parent, I'm also gonna add a gap to have some spacing between the two lines. 5 is good. Height, if I do 100%, no, that's gonna be a lot. Should I go with 75 and 75? No, actually they have it quite small there. Maybe 60. And on the whole bottom sheet, I'm gonna do align items center. Align item center. No. No, I'm gonna put them. Exactly. I'm gonna put all of them into another view, which will be the first part of that bottom sheet. And this view is going to have style, and this view is going to have the flex direction row and also the align items center. Oh boy, and what? Flex 1? Why do we need flex 1 here? Because, oh, on the parent we don't need flex row. Okay, now it works. And the same gap. The gap should go from here to this one. Yeah, like this. Okay, on the next view, what do we have here? Let's go with a green that we used where? In the maps or in the component, in the line route, this lime green. And let's put them in the same row. So style, flex, direction, row. And align items center. And for the text, we're gonna do color white, font weight bold, and font size 20, maybe 18. And here as well a bit smaller, 18, and a gap on the parent to add some spacing between them, like this. With align cell flex start, we make sure that it's rendered at the top. Okay, just like that, we have that screen, that part. And the next step is going to be maybe to render the dynamic, some dynamic data. For example, here we can render the dynamic ID. So we can say ID, and then we can render the selected scooter.id. That's the only thing that we have for now. So now we see ID 9, we see here ID 15, ID 18, and so on. And let's, instead of showing this icon, let's show this as how far it is from the current user. So from the uScooter, we're gonna take the duration and the distance and let's render them in that sheet. I'm gonna render them here for the distance. Let's render distance, which is going to be what? It's nothing. Why? Let's look at the use Scotoer. We have route distance. So maybe let's do simply duration and distance to simplify things. And if I check this one, okay, that's a lot of kilometers, but probably that's in meters. So we need to divide by 1000, and we're gonna only show the first 2 digits. So we can do math dot, we're gonna put them into this and then to fixed 1. This way we show 1.1 kilometers. And let's have one more of this at the bottom that will show the time. So it's going to be duration divided by 60, and that's going to be minutes, 13.8 minutes. We can do to fixed 0 so that we have whole numbers for the minutes. This one is closer, so it's going to be 7 minutes and 0.6 kilometers away. This is going to be 1 kilometer away, 13 minutes. Perfect. Now we can put both of them together so that they are displayed on top of each other. We're going to put them into a view like this. Getting a bit complicated, right? A lot of styling. And this view style is going to have gap 10 or 5. We can adjust the icons. From Expo icon, I'm gonna do font awesome 5, and let's check time or clock. Clock is good. For the minutes, we're gonna use clock. And for the kilometers, we're gonna use, I don't know, a number, I don't know, flag checkered, I don't know, I couldn't find a better one. Okay, so now it's better. We have more data here. Nice. And lastly, we can render a button below everything. So below the first view that we have here. So this is going to be the top part. And then after this view, we're gonna render the bottom part. So in the bottom part, we're gonna have a view. And inside that view, let's render a button. And we have a custom button component, which we can adjust. Or what's that? Title. Title, what's gonna be the title? Start journey. Start journey. I'm gonna add back on the root view a gap of 10. Maybe even 20. And for the button, let's see how we can adjust the styles. These are the styles. Let's give it that lime green look. And for the button text, font weight bold. Do I have a correct color? Because it doesn't look very visible. So okay, now it's better. It's a bit darker. So maybe 18, start journey. Perfect. And when you get there, you press start journey and it should get you in the journey mode. And from there, what you would want to do is probably going to be to store the user location at different points in time as he moves into an array, maybe save it to the database, and based on that, like calculate like how much time he used it, how much distance he traversed in that journey, and then at the end charge based on that information. But here we have our bottom sheet. Really happy with how it turned out. Maybe to be closer to the design, we're not gonna have such a large border radius, maybe 10. Yeah. Okay. And what you can do, like what I wanted to also show you, is a bit of geofencing. We don't have a lot of time left, but let me go ahead and do git add git commit -m bottom sheet for Scotoer details. And now I want to enable this button only when you are very close to the scooter. For that, we need to calculate the distance between the user and the scooter itself. So let's look at the Expo location to see how we can subscribe to location updates. Expo location. Subscribe. Location, we watch heading async. No, subscribe to location updates, watch position async. Maybe in the example at the top we showed that. Come on, usage, request permission, get current position, but we don't show the watching. Okay, so we're gonna have to think about, like, if we manage to implement it ourselves, location, watch position async. This is going to be callback. On each location update, it receives an object location subscription, which fulfills with a location subscription. And returns location subscription, which we can remove. Okay. So that means that we can do location watch position async inside our selected scooter. Or maybe we should do that in the provider. And in the provider, scooter provider, we're gonna have a state variable is nearby, set is nearby, to use state false. Let's export this is nearby here. And in our bottom sheet, we're gonna get the is nearby. And if it's not nearby, we're gonna disable the button. So the button disabled is going to be equal to, if it's not nearby, it's going to be disabled. And then maybe also the style. The style for the button, we can adjust it here based on that property. Button forward ref. It's not gonna work, right? other props. And here we need to send the other props. That's something that I think we will have to adjust in the Create Expo stack. And here for the styles of a button, let me do it this way. I'm gonna add a background color only if other props disabled. If it's true, then it's going to be gray. Otherwise, it's going to be this lime green. Let's see if it works. ID, what ID of undefined is selected? Selected scooter ID. Yeah, because we don't have a selected scooter. Selected scooter. If there is no selected scooter, don't render anything. Now if I render this one, why you're not here? Maybe I'm gonna do here the content is selected, selected scooter. Only when the selected scooter is there, render the content, and not here, but on the whole bottom sheet view. Bottom sheet view, close it here. Okay, let's reload. It still works. If I do that, it populates with data, and it's gray because in our providers we say that is nearby is false. So we need to watch the user's location, and when he gets nearby that scooter, we need to set this variable to true to enable the button. Now we cannot press on it. So in the use effect, when the component mounts, what we want to do is we want to do location dot subscribe or on, how is it called? On watch position async. Watch position async. We need options. What options does it need? Location options, accuracy, distance, interval. Receive updates only when the location has changed by at least this distance. Yeah, I think that's good. Distance interval in 100 meters. In meters, yeah. And when that is going to happen, here we're gonna have new location. Let's do console log location updated and new location. But 100 meters is quite a lot, so let's at least do it every 10 meters for now. And this location position is going to return us const subscription. Should we await because it's a sync? I don't think we should. And then we will unsubscribe in the clear function using subscription dot. No, it's actually, why is it? Oh boy, why is it? Okay, you actually have to unsubscribe, but I don't have time for that. So let's do that unsubscribe. So let me check. Destroy is not a function. Come on. We have only 3 minutes to make it work. So let's go into the feature location. Let's do a city run. City run. I hope it's where it's supposed to be. No, why is it there? location update. So yeah, it updates locations. And then using this location, we can calculate the distance between the selected scooter and the location. To calculate the distance, we're going to import something from a library called turf. And the function is called distance, if I'm not mistaken. Or turf.distance. And we import get distance. So what we can do here is we can do const distance equal get distance between two coordinates or 2 points. How did I do that here? Let me check it. In the prep maps, map get distance or distance. No, it's not here. It's in the up index. Get distance from and to. So we get the distance like this from using the point, which should be imported from import from turf slash helpers. So here we're going to import point, and we have what? The new location dot coordinates latitude longitude, and here selected scooter long and latitude. We get the distance, and we can do console log distance. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna check if distance is less than 50 meters, then you can set is nearby to true. Set is nearby to true. And then the button is going to be enabled. Cannot read long. Cannot read long. Selected scooter. Yeah, because we don't have a selected scooter, so we can do here only if selected scooter. I don't know. We do that. Get doesn't exist. What get doesn't exist? Which get? So now we should see the distance. Console log distance. Location update. Oh, we need to select a scooter first. Our distance is going to be quite far away, but if we select a scooter here, and I need to close the stream, come on, I just need to see the if we select this one, we should see the distance. I'm going to update you on the GitHub, and if you're interested in this tutorial, make sure to let me know in the comments, and maybe we're going to do another part.